Meanwhile, in the aftermath of the coveted Joint Commission reports released to Senator Rodriguez and Speaker Cruz, the two Democrat lawmakers held a joint press conference in which they slammed the GMH administration for what they referred to as a violation of their trust.
Yes, I was willing to address those issues, but now you violated the trust, and and that's the thing that hurts me the most, is that I believed you and I was ready to, do whatever I needed to do, including a tax increase.
Both Cruz and Rodriguez say they were disappointed with the GMH administration after finally reading the Joint Commission inspection report.
Their representations to us has always been it's funding, it's funding, it's funding. That's not what's in that report.
Now that we've seen the accreditation report, clearly it's not all funding. Yes, there are some cases there that funding could have perhaps dealt directly with accreditation, but for the most part, it doesn't have to do with funding.
Senator Rodriguez believes there was a deliberate attempt to withhold the information in the report.
Mr. Chairman, why do you think that they misrepresented the contents of the report?
I can't speak for them. My only assumption there is that they wanted to drive a message over to this body. It's a bad decision on their part, to use this as a way to say that accreditation is going to be lost because of funding, when clearly when you see the report, it's clearly that's not the issue.
In fact, before GMH agreed to release the report to both lawmakers under strict confidentiality, Cruz said he was nearly swayed to put aside his firmly established position on tax increases and even gaming. This ties in directly with the business community, which came out in full force testifying against a tax exemption repeal measure that could upend the island's economy. But the Democrat lawmakers pointed out that a majority of the issues cited in the report deal directly with patient safety and an apparent substandard leadership performance.
It's like having a drug addict sibling, and mom keeps saying, support them, they have children, the house, and then you find out they're having kids, they're still doing drugs, and you're like, how can I help? Unless you're willing to help yourself and take care of, why should the rest of the family have to suffer?
The one thing both agree on, it's indisputable. GMH is in dire need of funding. How they're going to get that and by how much will now be the point of discussion come Monday at an oversight hearing the senators have called for.
We're going to continue. You heard the speaker. He's willing to look at other things. We're going to continue to help them find ways to help them with their funding shortfall, find ways to help them with if it's equipment or facility upgrades. But don't tie it to this accreditation. That's what we're telling them. Come to the table on Monday and be forthright, and let's just work together on this.
Meanwhile, Adelup is fighting back, saying that the violation of trust was on the senators' parts for releasing the report, despite a stern warning not to do so. Medical Director Dr. Vince Duenas said he was concerned that the disclosure may have a chilling effect on the medical staff, as the peer review process was meant for correction and not punitive and litigious reasons. You can read the full release on PacificNewsCenter.com. And staying on this topic, GMH CEO Peter John Camacho was on News Talk K57 with host Andrea Pellicani, answering to some of the many questions the public may have now that the inspection report has been made public. At this point, Camacho says they are doing a root cause analysis to determine whether some of the incidences listed in the report are isolated and can be quickly corrected. He also says that some of the findings were scored differently. For example, one finding may have been weighted more heavily than another. Camacho emphasized that despite the seriousness of the report, there was never any immediate threat to life or patient safety. In fact, he points out that if at any point during the survey the inspectors felt there was an immediate threat, they would have shut down the hospital immediately.